NPCs. Can we trust them? Dudes of Divination here talking about NPCs. And to answer Brandon's questions, yes, sometimes.
Most of the time.
Sometimes. So NPCs, we're going to give you 5 different kinds of NPCs. The most common, obviously there's other different kinds, but let's just start at the top of the list. You have your basic non-fleshed out NPCs. You're walking down the road and there's a guy on the side of the road. It's not, you hadn't planned your characters to talk to him, but for some reason, your character's like, hey, I want to talk to farmer number 2.
Yeah.
What do you do?
In a situation where they are generally just fucking around, and they're like, are there any people around? And you just throw a random guy out there off the top of your head. Don't think about him at all.
Yeah, there's literally a guy walking his dog. Oh, I want to go talk to him and his dog. Why do you want to talk to him and his dog? I didn't prepare for this.
What's his name?
I love that.
Yep. Yeah.
His name...
The struggles of a DM.
His name is, I don't have one. Please don't talk to me. That's his name.
His name's John. John is a good go-to.
Yeah, especially for English-centric. You could literally have him not give a name. He could just be like, he just crosses his arms and says, what do you want?
It's a good go-to.
But what are they used for? They help direct your NPCs or misdirect them to however...
PCs, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. They help direct or misdirect your PCs to where you as the Dungeon Master want them to go. They're good tools, and unfortunately, you'll get a lot of use out of them because your players like to talk to everyone and everything, which is good. They're obviously engaging with the world, but sometimes it does get frustrating because how many lists of random NPCs you have to start making. Hey, we want to go talk to John again. Which John? You've met 4 of them.
And the stupid thing about it is that you'll come up with some random over-the-top, stupid NPC, and that'll be the NPC that people will remember. You'll put a bunch of time into an NPC. Reference our Starfinder game with the Vesk, who was the innkeeper that Blast wanted to talk to because Blast has this infatuation with Vesks. He didn't even give a name. He was so frustrated. Nick, the DM at the time, didn't want us to talk to him. He had nothing to do with the story, so it was just to get us to go away. What's your name? Shopkeep. But who's the NPC we always reference now? Shopkeep.
And I still want to talk to Shopkeep. I don't know. I'm worried.
I spent 100 credits on a drink for him.
But anyway, they're useful for getting the story to move along by having them direct. And then they also are very good fodder to die. When John gets slain by an arrow...
If Shopkeep was dead, I would be really upset.
Your players they're not really too much thought on your part as a GM, and yet you can really do whatever you want to them and get away with it. So use them because your players will make them for you. Those are NPC number 1. NPC number 2 is your well-fleshed out, your storyline NPCs. I would say these are your mayors, your princes, your caravan driver, the named character that go see Bethel over there, he'll help you, or things like that. Or when you go to a town, go talk to the mayor of the town. Well, the mayor obviously has a story, has a background.
Basically an NPC that is essential to the workings of the world. Maybe not even essential, but an NPC that has a purpose.
Yeah.
It could just be a caravan driver, but if this caravan driver is doing something that's going to further the story, where he may need some type of stats or something. At least somebody that you've planned on the PC's meeting.
Yeah, and how do you use them? Well, again, they are what are going to give out your quests. They're going to drive your story. These are the NPCs which NPC number 1 are going to direct you towards. So when that NPC says, "Oh, go talk to the blacksmith," you should have blacksmith etched out a little bit more than another number 1 NPC. You don't want to chain your players along to like 5 random NPCs before they find
when
one.
Random NPC directs you to an NPC, it shouldn't be a second random NPC.
To be fair, that'd
what's
be really
your name? Smith Black.
That would be really, really funny if someone did that as a GM.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get anywhere.
I know, but it would be funny.
If your players are being difficult, I guess be difficult with them. Just give them a bunch of NPC number 1s, make up names on the spot.
So then that's number 2. I'd say number 3 would be like the object of a quest. So this is someone who you are trying to save, trying to find.
Gotta love those quests. The protection quests where you have a non-combatant.
There's someone you're trying to escort, things like that. So they might have some sort of history, again, you as the dungeon master have to figure that out. But this type of NPC is, to Brandon's point, they may be feeble, they may be helpless, and you as a GM, you should play that up. If they see blood, that's ungodly,
High-ranking nobles fit this well.
Yeah.
Old people, even
young
children.
People. Yeah. So what they're good for is they play up your character's like strengths. If that like normal noble, he's a high-ranking noble, right? He has all this power, yet he's too frail or feeble, and he needs to hire your level 3 adventuring party just to get him around. Like that makes your characters like powerful. They feel like, oh, I gotta escort, Smith Black over here,
and he'll be a pain in the ass. Like,
oh yeah,
he should be a pain in the ass, but also they serve as a really good tool to like build the characters up. So like your characters who are probably sick of fighting goblins kill some goblins in front of this guy, and he's like, wow, I've never seen such a masterful display of skill. And then they might sort of get that chip on their shoulder, like, oh yeah, we're obviously really good. And so they sort of serve a dual purpose there, like where they'll be irritating, but not irritating enough to where the players are going to be like, what are we doing with this guy?
Yeah, because I think it's kind of an interesting thing as like a player while you're playing. You kind of get in your mindset, and especially if you're doing really poorly, like let's say you roll a whole bunch of misses in a row and you're like, man, my character sucks. But again, your character is like a hero of heroes. So this random nobody starts walking in and seeing your great events unfold. He's probably going to be commenting him like, oh my god, you slew that orc with one blow. Well, yeah, that's just normal, but I guess that's cool,
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to do that.
Right?
So
NPC number 3, they are annoying people you have to go find, but also they're useful to like inflate the ego of your players.
And political influence.
Yeah, that was me like using like a fan
bellows?
thing, like a bellows. I was inflating the ego.
I got what you were doing. I don't know that everybody else
just the picture. Just I don't know what I'm doing right now.
He'll be the annoying guy that will also
alligator chomp your play.
That brings us to the 4th type of NPC, an alligator.
No. So, the 4th type of NPC, we're going to call him the alligator. He's the guy who is slippery and who turns on you and bites you in the back.
Oh,
so
man.
He's the guy.
I hate it when I think that an alligator's my friend and then he turns on me.
So the alligator is someone who is like super helpful to you, but then at the end of the day, he's either serving someone else or he may be the big bad guy, and like he may have just been like testing your mettle, and then he's going to turn on you at the decisive moment. to strike that final blow. You got to really... How I like to... I mean, again, everyone plays their alligators a little differently. But I think that if you make them really like feeble and kind of like maybe the target of an attack, so maybe like they're getting attacked and like your PCs come in and rescue him, and then he's like forever grateful and like just following them around and like just wanting to do things for them, and like they're like, oh well, yeah, we got some nice guy following us around, like make them think they've gained this trusted ally, and then at the like maybe they're dangling from a rope and he's like, oh, alligator, pull us up, and he's like, yes, I will, and he just pulls a knife and cuts the rope,
like Scar and Mufasa. Yeah, throws you into the wildebeest herd.
Wildebeest? What? It's Friday. We can't do wildebeest Wednesday. Is that our 5th NPC? Is the wildebeest?
No. But Scar in Lion King, perfect example
of an alligator,
even though he's a lion.
So NPC number 4 is your alligator. He is someone who turns on the party. He gains their trust and betrays it.
Do you have an idea for NPC 5? Because I have an idea for NPC 5.
Go for it.
NPC number 5, the other hero. An NPC with class levels. They can serve multiple purposes. They can be a rival. They can be an ally. If they're an ally, I like an NPC with class levels to be just a tad weaker than the PCs, like a level or two behind. Somebody who's able to hold their own and not be like totally useless in a fight. Somebody who's actually able to help, not like an NPC number 3 who is just tag along.
Yeah. To that point, I think it also plays a role to again inflate your ego of your players, because if their random ally, their number 5 ally is coming in and is outdoing them in damage, why are they allies?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's something that you have to be very careful of. Like, and I'm sure that you've heard it before, because I've always heard this before too, is don't
outstage your players.
Right. Don't upstage your players. And if you do, there's a space for that too. Like if your players are level 4 and they're just raffle stomping everything that you throw at them, then maybe they encounter somebody who's got a ton of adventures under their belt and he just totally destroys something. But they should not be a recurring NPC or like a party member or anything like that. If you have somebody who's going to be a temporary party member, don't have them be doing things that the PCs can't, because you have to remember this is the PC's story and not yours. You can still have cool NPCs, just don't upstage your own PCs with NPC power level. Like, obviously there's NPCs out there that are more powerful than your PCs, because
that's the story.
You're in a world of heroes, and your PCs might be level 3. There's 20th level heroes running around out there somewhere, but they're few and far between.
And they got bigger fish to fry than to worry about what's going on with your PCs.
Exactly.
On his point, Brandon's point, the NPC, like your random NPC number 5, the guy who's tagging along, he's helping you out. It is okay to let him like get the final blow and like blood-soakingly like stab the guy, out of nowhere, because that'll just solidify him in the group. But it shouldn't be every time. It shouldn't be like, all right, guy, come on, you gotta finish it for us. Like, give them a showcase. Like, it's okay to shine that spotlight on them, but don't make it a crutch that your players have to hobble on to get through your adventure.
Now, the other side of the coin to the NPC with class levels is like the rival. The rival should never be a deadly encounter, in my opinion. I think that the rival should outclass the PCs a little bit, because obviously he needs to be able to take on the whole party by himself.
Sure.
But also, he shouldn't outclass them to the point where he's able to just drop everybody in a single combat. I think they work best as a recurring NPC, not something long-term with the party.
to the point of the rival, Brandon made the point that he doesn't like his NPCs to be deadly. I think it's the opposite. I think it's okay to have a deadly encounter with a rival NPC.
Sure, I'm just saying I don't think that the rival NPC should actually kill a
Oh,
NPC.
no. I meant like lethal. Like, I don't think any of your players should die. Maybe some should drop, but not die. Death, I mean, people look at death in role-playing games differently, and I guess it also depends on your setting. Personally, I like low magic settings because I think they're the closest thing that you can get into the role-playing game. But again, even in a low magic setting, I really like those high magic spells. So, especially in the homebrew that I'm concocting for the channel, it's gonna be a blend of both. So it will be interesting to see what happens. But I think it's okay if like a player, drops to 0 and is struggling, then your players have to, that not only does that give your NPC an out, be like, I'll let you live this time, I'm going to leave now. And then your PCs have to be like, oh, well, do we try to kill this guy or do we save our, wizard from dying here? Like, right. What do we do?
Have you ever played Final Fantasy X?
No.
In Final Fantasy X, the summoner in the group, there's this other summoner that you can fight, and she is like the rival summoner, but she's a friendly rival.
Yeah.
So she only ever uses one summon that is more powerful than yours, and you can use all of yours to try to defeat her one. If you lose, there's no penalty. It's basically just like try again next time. If you win, you get something special. Like she gives you something to help you along in your quest. And I always thought that would have been a really cool thing to incorporate into D&D game. It's not something that I've ever done, but it's just a recurring NPC that has something that's like, oh, but you got to beat me in a fight. And they're always just a little bit stronger than you, but you still have the opportunity to pull out the victory. If you do pull out the victory, you get a little treasure. If you don't, there's really no penalty for it. He might even heal you after the fight. Like, oh, sorry about that. Here's some potions. See you later. Disappears off into the woods. I think that would be a really cool use of this specific class-leveled NPC.
What I really like to use... We're talking a lot about number 5, but it's
the best kind.
I like to use the hero party, the NPC party, to like take away jobs from the PCs. So if PCs go into like your hub town, right, the town has a whole bunch of quests, and they're like, oh well, let's check out quest number 1, and if we don't like it, we can go to quest number 2. So quest number 1, they're like, ooh, we don't really want to fight goblins again. Let's go check out the other one. And then they go back and the guy's like, oh, I already hired some people to take care of that one. Like, it may seem like a railroad type of thing, but like in the end, it might make a cool interaction to where like your players go hunt them down and be like, hey, you want to like switch contracts? And then you have to like deal with all the political side.
Or it could be a thing where there's a big purse and he's like, oh, I already hired somebody. What if we get it done first? And then it's like a race to the finish against this other.
Yeah, I always thought that'd be cool. Is like you're in the dungeon and like there's there's 2 paths and like they took one and you can see them like advancing and they see you in, like Brandon said, like a race. And at the end, it's the guy and he's an alligator and he backstabs you.
And he's real slippery.
So that was our talk about NPCs. Again, there's so many more different types.
Yeah.
But we're going to just talk about these 5 for now. We'll visit this again. So just to recap everything, we have the number 1, the random guy who your players... The John, who your players have to talk to because they want to talk to everyone. He is useful in the ways we described. We have number 2. He's your story NPC. He's the guy who is driving, giving out quests, who's important, who has a background, someone core to your narrative in one way, shape, or form. We have number 3. They're your, the rescue or the help me, or what's a good name for number 3?
The escort.
The escort. John's an escort. Oh boy. So the escort, they are very good because they give you something to quest for other than just an item. It's a person, or they give you something to protect. They inflate the ego of your players, and they help you just kind of round out your adventures so they're not all so boring. Number 4 is the alligator. They're the slippery backstabbers who...
I don't know if alligators are slippery or backstabby.
They are now.
And I think that they're like scaly and they're just like pop out of the water and kill you. Like,
nope.
All right.
They befriend you first. They take you out to dinner, and then they come
and
they
like,
stick you with the
go
bill.
Swimming? And then it's all downhill.
It's all underwater from there. And then number 5 is the rival party,
or rival,
or just a single rival. They're someone who is not an antagonist. Or they technically are an antagonist, but they're not out to like just kill the party. They have their own goals and their own missions that like cross at a point with your party, and you have to decide what happens and where they go. So those were our 5 NPCs that we're going to talk about today. We hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe below. Comment which NPC you like the most. Obviously,
everybody is gonna say the alligator.
Obviously, you're gonna say the alligator because alligators are cool and they're slippery and they backstab you.
Yeah, don't trust an alligator if you encounter one in the wild.
Yeah,
it's not your
you should
friend.
probably just run away. Anyway, Dudes of Divination. We'll see you at the table.